Hello everybody, hope that you are doing very well and welcome to this evening's Contenders live stream. Hope that you are all doing very well. After a brilliant day of Bitcoin trading, we've seen some great moves once again, another 10% move on Bitcoin. It's absolutely lovely volatility. Where today I want to go through the following, obviously picking up slightly from last week. I know last week I went too long on for the risk management, so I want to pick off where I left last week and go through all my altcoins. Well, go through every altcoin that I follow, and want to go through Bitcoin to start with. I'll talk you through one of the trades that I took today on Bitcoin. Because it was extremely good. If I'm not going to lie, it was an extremely good trade. So I want to talk you through that one, what I was thinking, exactly how it was planned out, and that kind of is replacing chart of the week. As you'll notice, like I haven't selected an altcoin today for chart of the week, and that was because partly just there wasn't for me a standout really nice altcoin trade. Obviously I've only been in the country the last 2 days, and over the last 2 days for me to select an altcoin there was just no like standout set. Like for myself there was no like standout really good altcoin setup, thus I didn't have a chart of the week for you this week. But nevertheless, I'll replace that by going through the Bitcoin trade from this morning, which is very nice. Talk you through that one, and then I'll move on to some charting today with exclusively Fibonacci. So I want to use exclusively Fibonacci and the three tools that I've covered thus far. So by the end of today, I really feel everybody here in the live streams should 100% understand these three Fibonacci tools. Okay. So by the end of today, you should have full confidence in using them. That's my objective with tonight's stream anyway. And obviously, as we go along, question and answers related to these three topics, they're absolutely fine. And that will then be the end of these three Fibonacci tools. And next week is when I will start moving on to the Fibonacci extension. Okay, so obviously we've done the expansion, we've done the standard retracement, we've done the negative thus far. Those three tools, and next week I'll move on to the extension. One could argue it's related with Elliott waves, but nevertheless it's still a Fibonacci tool, which is a must need. So yeah, that will be next week. Today I want to go through the free tools we've covered so far, doing lots of real examples of how we're using them and how we can actually take trades with this essentially. All I will say is I've increased, I'm not sure how people were saying that my microphone was quiet, yeah, so I've increased, I've done some settings changes on the mic to hopefully make it a bit louder. I'm not sure whether it's if it's too loud or not too loud. I increased the volume basically. So this is the first time I've done a video with the increase in volume. So if you can just give me feedback, I guess, on am I hurting your ears right now, or do you think it could go a little bit higher or a little bit lower? I can basically increase it up and down quite a lot. So you're just gonna have to let me know how the volume is, because yeah, first video trying it really. So yeah, if anything sounds bad with the volume, just let me know. But if there isn't, let's go into Bitcoin. I want to start off with Bitcoin before we go through the alts. You can see most of the alts today are pretty red nevertheless, but volume much better. Oh, brilliant. Oh, absolutely brilliant. It's cool. Right, so as you can see, Bitcoin, extremely volatile. Okay, cool, brilliant. Lots of comments saying the sound is good. That is what I wanted to hear. So our last stream for the contenders was on the 20th, wasn't it? So 1 week ago. You got to love, you got to love crypto. You just have to love cryptocurrency. 1 week ago, the 20th. Where were we 1 week ago? On the 20th of November, it was here, wasn't it? So we were sat at the 8,000 level. Okay, since that video, as you all know, that was the video where I just had taken the short off of this wick. So we were literally sat at around 8,100 during the stream. And obviously since that wick up, that gave a very nice entry. To essentially catch this whole move down. So that was nice. That was very nice indeed. 1 week later, price catching up to where we were, to be honest. But we've seen a lot of action go on here over the last few days. So now we are here on the 27th. Let's go through the trade that I took today, which I have to say pretty proud of. Yeah, to be honest, yeah. So let's go through what I was thinking here. Obviously, what we originally had, let me remove this a second, okay, what we originally had was very much straight move up. So let me just put this back on. What we had over the last few days, for me, obviously, I wasn't in the country during this initial rise, nor any of this last movement down. I got back into the country on the 26th, 25th, 26th. Okay, so I got it back into the price action around here. This is where I started trading again. Okay, and my objective while we were sat here, as documented in Monday's live stream, so 2 days ago on the Champions live stream on Monday, I had the idea of wanting to see the price decline, okay, to the 618, and I was saying about 6,850. Why 6,850? Well, let me show you all here exactly why 6,850. Just to remind you all, I'm sure you all know this one by now. But it was very simply our low of the move to the high of that move. Okay, so from low of the move to high of the move, simply the 618. Okay, you also in that 618 you had the hourly order block here. Okay, so you have the hourly order block which you never lost. So hourly order block on the 618 for the confluence. That's what I was looking at when price was around here. That's the level I wanted it to go down to kind of close out my shorts and look for a long. Big word there being look for a long. I did not have bids set here. What I wanted to do was review the price action as we come down to this level, and I think this is a thing that people are learning really well from me. From what I can see in the group, obviously specifically Champions group, but what I see throughout the day is people are really taking on kind of what I preach of. You don't always want to be aggressively. Okay, sometimes it works out really well, sometimes it doesn't. We know that, but it really helps if you want to be consistent constantly to actually wait for reactions at the level, wait for the reaction, wait for the trend change. That way you get out of the situation of catching a falling knife. Because if you were looking to buy 6,850, well, your stop loss is going to arguably below the 6.6 or below the order block. So your stop loss would be around, I would say, about 6,822. Okay, so in this example, well, yeah, clearly if you had orders preset there and a stop loss set, you did catch the whole move, and catching a falling knife worked this time. Okay, but let's look back over the last few weeks. If you had been doing that over the last few weeks, well, you've just took about 20 losses in a row before you've got a nice win here where it's actually held and got continuation. So just bear that in mind. That this time, if you had bids preset with a stop loss on the order block, you literally done an amazing trade. But for the last 20 trades, you probably have lost. So that's why I prefer to wait for the bounce. Okay. So the way I was trading, I'm very documented this everything. So I was saying I'm waiting for 6,850. That's where my alerts are. Once the alert went off, okay, I was waiting for the 5-minute trend change. The 5-minute trend change is then the market proving to me we've come down to hit the level. Once we've hit the level, one has then seen a trend change, a bullish trend change on the 5-minute market structure, proving to me, okay, that is bullish. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. On top of this, so let's go over through other levels of confluence that we had on this. Okay, so obviously we had the order block. Okay, so very nice. We also had the 618. What else did we have? We also had the inverse head and shoulders. Okay, so we also had the inverse head and shoulders, which I also shown in the group before. Obviously, we got it while it was up here. I was saying that I was after this. So we also had that real nice inverse head and shoulders. Okay, so this is what we were looking at basically. We can see the bullish order block on the 1 hour. We can see the 618 retracement, and we can also see the possibility of this head and shoulders pattern playing out. Okay, so that was your levels of confluence, and just so you're aware right now that the target for this is going to be about oh, look at that. Oh, that's lovely. I like it when it sits above a wick like that, by the way. But that's basically about 8,250. Okay, 8,250 being the target for the head and shoulders. By the way, I closed out of this long too early. So I closed out of it. And obviously we've seen a little bit of continuation, so I'm not still in that leveraged long, although I am in a scalp long, but I'm not in the leveraged long from down here anymore because I did close out of that. But nevertheless, still longer, I guess. But that was the confluence that we had going on down here. Okay, for looking at that, and obviously yeah, some of the group got in that with me. So we were all, well, some people obviously long in the 618 itself, but this is what I was after, and this is the 5-minute trend change. So what you can see here is there's your drop down to the 618. So that's obviously where, you know, if you're doing it the same as I'm doing it, the alerts are going off. You're at your computer, you're ready. Okay, you're ready for it. What's the entry signal? Okay, low, high. Just really force this through. So we have the 618. We've got our alerts. After that, we're going high, low. So are you buying here? No, that's still not your entry, because you could just go down there for the lower high. What's the entry? The entry is the alert go off, the high, the pullback for the lower high, breaking that. Breaking the high here, that's your higher high, isn't it? So then you've gone low, high, higher low, you're onto your higher highs, you enter. Okay, that was what I was waiting for. Okay, my entry trigger was hitting the 618. Once we've hit the 618, wait for the 5-minute trend change. That is the exact words I gave in the Champions chat. Okay, and that is why I was saying taking along too. That was my entry trigger, and well, obviously that was way back at 6,950. We're now sat at 7,500. So about 10% rise from that. But that was basically the entry signal. It was literally the 5-minute trend change after hitting the 618. You might say, Daniel, well, yeah, if you had bids waiting at the 618, well, you've gained an extra % of profit there. Absolutely. But I would say by waiting for the trend change, I've essentially I've got 1% profit less, but my risk, I would really say my risk had been reduced absolutely in half. So if I can reduce my risk, I would say more than half. Like if I can take 75% of the risk off of catching a falling knife, take away 1% profit, you know, price is up 10% from here, so who cares about if it's 10% or 11%, if I'm honest. But nevertheless, I'm taking away a lot of risk by waiting for the trend change. By buying that falling knife, I'm taking on the risk. Okay, you really are taking on the risk, and you just have to remember what the trend was really like. So when you see this, do you think catching the knife is the good option, or do you think waiting for the trend change is the good option? I'll leave that up to you to decide. You know how I clearly feel about it. But nevertheless, that's what we have going on here. So that was the confluences. And from here, I want to show you some really nice patterns that you can be trading right now. And this is based off of Fibonacci. So first of all, let's just highlight it one more time. From the low up to the high, that's where we're looking for our retracements. Okay, so from our standard retracements, what could we have going on here? So from low to high, obviously you had the 618. So let's add in a few more levels, what we could have had here. Okay, from high down to the low, okay, template, we're going to put on the negative. Okay, you can see here, you know, it's not perfection, but nevertheless, from the high to the low, the negative 618 was sat at 6,006. The 618 is sat at 6,850. So we can say that they're very close levels together. The other fib that we can have add on is this low to this high. Okay, and I'd put on the extension, and you can see there. Obviously, these are going to be obviously very similar, I guess, but nevertheless, you can see the 1618, 618, 618. More or less, if you had bought at any of those levels in the end, in hindsight, I guess, yeah, they've all lined up very well, and prices moved on a lot higher. But from where we are now, okay, so from where we are now, how can we be looking for targets? Okay, well, very simply, let's change this to the negative. Okay, so the negative is where we're going now, isn't it? So from high to low, look at that. So we hit the negative 236 wicks, potentially another wick. So people might be saying, well, why is it stopped here? Okay, so why has it stopped here? Well, the simple answer is you're running into a negative. You know, you are running into a target level. Essentially, people are taking profits here. Remember, this is not necessarily a short. This doesn't say short, but this does say take profits. Okay, this is a 10% move. People take profits, okay? Just like me, I took profits a little bit early, but nevertheless, I took profits. I didn't lose money. That's the main thing. So yeah, so there's one thing that you're looking at. Okay, so the negative. Okay, the next one that I want to highlight is obviously from the low to high. Well, we'll keep this on standard for a second. Okay, I want to put that onto CC. Okay, so where's the next way that we're looking for targets? Okay, so we've done the negative levels. Let's add on the extension, and this one is the really powerful one for me. The extension is I prefer it. Okay, so sorry, the expansion. I need to say expansion because I'm doing the extension next week. From the expansion, from the high down to the low. Okay, put that onto the extension. I should name that to expansion. And there we go. So from here, we have wicked onto the 1414, 1414. This is harmonic numbers. I really want to highlight to you these 618 here. The 1618 sat on the monthly. This for me is the biggest target. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We could turn down here. That's not impossible. We could turn down here, but for me, this is the big target. Okay. So this for me is the big target. The 1618 sat on the monthly. Do you know what pattern this is? Okay, it's actually called the ABCD pattern. Again, I will show you that now. So on TradingView, okay, on TradingView, you can just literally on the left-hand side here, click on ABCD pattern. Okay, and to get the ABCD pattern, you go from low of the move to high of the move. So the first wave upwards, that's your A to B. To get the C, you're coming down to the 618, and this can be the 618 to the 786, and then once you've hit the 618, your target is the 1618. Okay, so this is the ABCD pattern. Well, it's very, very nice. It is really, really nice, and this is obviously harmonics are generated from Fibonacci. Okay, so this pattern basically is looking for this though as a short. Okay, so let me make that clear that 1618 is where you do look for shorts, and then to get a target, you go from the low of A up to the top of D, and you actually look for the 382, which is 7262, and the 618 again, which is 76978. Okay, that's how you get targets. But nevertheless, you got to wait for the reaction, because I think if we hit this, we can start to short squeeze and go higher. But if you hit that and you wick through it, you get a big rejection. Well, that's where we can look for a short stops and aim lower. You need to see how it goes at the level. So just like I didn't long the exact bottom down here, I wouldn't look to short the exact top here. I would have an alert on. I would do the exact same process again of 5-minute trend change before I enter position, unless it's a swing failure. Unless it's a swing failure on heavy volume, and then I will short it at market straight away. There's not always times where you have enough time to wait for a 5-minute trend change. Sometimes you just have to enter at market. Okay, and today I did enter at market, so let me make it clear that today I did enter at market, by the way, because there was, okay, you had a little bit of time actually while it broke. You can see here you did have a little bit of time while it broke. But the thing is, you broke. Okay, so as you were breaking up here, you can see that you're getting pullbacks. But as it broke, as you were pulling back here on the price, this is where you need to be looking at the second, the second level order books, because, excuse me, the order book was absolutely stacked. Okay, so the order book went absolutely stacked to the green side, and you actually saw a lot of market buys coming in, and we're talking, big several million buys coming in. So on top of seeing big market buys coming in, which is not always a sign. It's not always a sign, because generally one doesn't buy a market. But when you see a combination of big buys coming in and the order book absolutely stacked to the green, that's a signal to yourself of you're probably going to have to enter a market. Okay, the worst is you're taking a few percent stop. Okay, but the best is you get in with the market, and you make, in this example, 10%. So the clearly prove, it's just really, I think this is such a good example, such a good trade. It really is such a good trade. But yeah, you literally got that 5-minute trend change. You saw the pullback happening here, so you got for a few minutes a pullback. Order book stacked, big markets coming in. You got to execute a market, to be honest, to get a trade. You got to execute a market. Just like if you swing failure pattern. Okay, so I'm getting a bit off topic, I guess, but if you swing failure pattern that on high bear volume, yeah, I would enter a market. I would enter a market with stops above the high. Okay, but if you don't get the big bear volume and you do something like this, well, I'm not going to enter a market, because you can easily push on. So yeah, you got to be looking at the volume and the order book as you reach these sort of areas, like 100%. You do have to. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that while we're here. But yeah, that's the ABCD pattern on Bitcoin of how you can look for potential targets. Okay, and that's obviously a combination there of, let me do it one more time for you all. We got the negative fib from low up to the high, put that on negative. Okay, so you can see those. So the negative 618 of this sits at 7,923. Okay, and then for the extension, we're going from the last high to the low. We're putting that on the extension. Okay, and I'm saying we'll do 2226 on the negative 618, but for me, more important, the monthly on the 1618. Okay, and the last way that we can get confluence for this is actually with our standard fib. Again, I would say this major downtrend really is from this high at 9,600. So from 9,600, I'm going to take a Fibonacci retracement from this high down to the low. I'm going to put that on standard, and I'm going to say, okay, yeah, look at this. This is really, really good, I think. You got the 382 sat at 7,693. You got the monthly sat at 7,700. You got the negative 618 sat at 7,735. One has to be, if you're in a long right now, you just have to be taking profits. I'm not saying it can't go through, but I'm saying, why would you not take profits there? That's clearly a resistance area. It's clearly a resistance area. You got to lock in something. All I would say, that does not mean short. That does not mean short the level. It just means you take profits on your long. Yeah, that's important, because I do think, in my opinion, the reason I wouldn't short there is because if you do actually start grinding through it, well, this is where the short squeeze can happen, and you can run up a lot higher very quickly. So you just want to be really careful of actually shorting that level blind, because it can run pretty quickly. So just be really careful. That wouldn't short that level myself, unless you get a swing failure, or you hit it and you just start grinding straight back down. Okay, if you do anything else and you start doing this and consolidating here, oh yeah, I'm not shorting it. I'll just tell you that now. I wouldn't short it. I wouldn't short it. But in the short term where you are now, I'll just end with this. On the short term where you are now on Bitcoin, arguably, if you're not in a short, I myself actually wouldn't take a short right now. And if I wasn't in a long, I also would. I was scalping this after the long, so I am in a long position actually, but this was more from a scalp entry, and I just set a hard stop loss. But yeah, I think if you're in zero position right now, then you got to just wait, to be honest. I don't see how you can take a trade from here. You got to either wait for pullbacks into around 7,400. So if you get a pullback into 7,400 and it holds, then you can take a long. The reason why I actually wouldn't place a bid at 7,400 is just for the facts. Big fake out of this. Big fake out, pump, held, straight back down. It could work really well as a fake out. Hence why I wouldn't actually have bids waiting at 7,400. I'd want to actually see it back test and hold. So I would want to see it do that and actually hold before I entered a long myself. Okay, so I wouldn't have a bid preset, but I do think if you are in zero position right now, you just got to wait, and that's just sometimes part of trading. Yeah, it's just part of trading. I really couldn't say whether I wouldn't say it's a good time to enter any position, to be honest with you right now. You got to wait for that pullback, or actually just wait for the monthly to be broken, and trade off of the monthly. This is a bit of a no trade zone, for me, a no trade zone. But yeah, let me just do a few questions, and then I will go through the rest of these altcoins. Yeah, this was like recommended to me as a really good microphone, and I guess it's not. And maybe it is my amp though, because I do have like an amp, and I don't know really. It was supposedly a good mic, but who knows? Can you show us the 5-minute trend change? That was the signal to go long. So yes, it was. So I still got it labeled down here. So it was this basically. Okay, so the 5-minute trend change. So you've obviously deleted everything else on the chart here, but we obviously come down, hit the 618. From there you went low, high, higher, low. As soon as you take this high, really, as soon as you take this high, that is then your trend change, isn't it? So you've then went low, high, higher, low. Well, as soon as you take that, you're at your higher high, so that's your 5-minute trend change, isn't it? And then obviously on the, oh god, where's it gone? Okay, so that's your trend change, and then obviously as you broke that, you got a little bit of a pullback. You just have to then see what the order book's like, and clearly see it was stacks, and you got to execute a market or get a nice. You could have got filled on a limit order. You could have got filled on a limit order. You'd have had to be pretty quick at putting on your bids. Okay, so yeah, that's shown to you, I guess. Did you market buy? Yes, I did market buy. This sounds much better now. Brilliant. Where would your stop loss be? Under the low of the wick hit the 618. Yes, for me that was where I was placing my stop loss, because I goes two higher lows back, one higher low, two higher low. So yes, my stop loss was below the weekly level also. Yeah, I need to like stop removing everything from my chart. Currently I've literally just got this monthly, so I need to stop removing things on my chart. But yeah, we did have a weekly there as well. Already closed 60% of my long. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't close out of all the long because I think we can still hit higher levels. But yeah, closing like percentages is good. When drawing horizontal SR or diagonal trend lines, do you favor wicks or candle bodies, or does it vary? Really varies. For instance, when I take trend lines, I prefer to go from wicks, but when I obviously do my SR levels, it's always from closes. Morning, morning, Dale. Daniel, how relevant is the weekly at 7629 from June 2019? Well, let's take a really quick look. I think I've already answered this question. I remember answering this one actually, and it was I said I preferred the monthly. Basically, I preferred the monthly. You can see you've hit the weekly. Like myself, I prefer the monthly because of all the confluence that you have on that level. Obviously, you've hit that weekly and you've got a rejection, but well, it's not a strong rejection as of yet. Just be aware that you've hit the weekly, but for me, there's more reason to turn around at the monthly. Yeah, there's more reason to turn around here than there is here. It's not to say it's impossible to turn around now, but I do favour more upside here. So that's one thing to be, I just do favour a little bit more upside. But let's just see here out of interest. 0.5 fib holding you down. Okay, so maybe you could say close above the 66 here, 7,600, and you have more odds of going up. But nevertheless, I am in a long. I am expecting high prices, but yeah, you could turn off this weekly, but I do think there's more reasons of turning off the monthly, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, nevertheless, it's still a level. What do we have for Elliott wave targets if we break monthly? Elliott wave targets, I'm not going to go through in this video, so I'm not going to go through any Elliott waves in today's video. I don't want to. But in terms of if we break the monthly, I'm actually looking up for 8,500. Okay, 8,500 up to 9k. 8,500 is a daily level. Okay, so you have this old daily here. Okay, around 8,500, and my second target was 9k, and that must have been, I can't remember now. Oh yeah, the 618 is simply the 618, and it's also another daily on top of it. So yeah, that for me is where I'm aiming for. If you smash through this and you start getting a short squeeze, it's just so early for me because I like to see the reactions off of each level. It's kind of pointless in me saying I'm aiming for 9k, or I could close all of my position at 7,700. I want to see the reaction off of each of these levels to determine partly how much profit I take at each level. And secondly, if I even let my long runs or close them out and enter shorts, I need to see the reaction off of this level. Or alternatively, this was the high at the weekly, and we head down from here. That is definitely a possibility. Yeah, but I want to see the reaction off of each of the levels so far. This for me is not a heavy reaction. This is not a heavy rejection. So I still think we can push higher, but there's no guarantee of that. Cool. So let's go through some of the alts then. So let's go through the alts. I'm going to go through each of the alts on my list, and we're going to use only Fibonacci. Okay, so no Elliott waves, no GAN, no anything else. Only fibs, and only the 3 fib tools that I've used thus far. Okay. Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go on to blank charts. So that will take away all biases, because as you can see here, I've got some ideas on Cardano, for example, but I don't want to think of those ideas. I just want to use fibs right now. Okay, so let's go through this then. So if we're loading up a blank chart here, this is Cardano. Okay, blank chart. So what's the first thing that we're going to be looking at? Okay, the first thing that we're going to be looking at, well, actually, I think I'm going to need to come out to the daily. This is pretty big. Okay, the first thing I'd acknowledge, the first thing I'd have to acknowledge is clearly going down. It's clearly in a downtrend, although you've got arguably a consolidation, accumulation range here, actually. And I'm favouring upside on Cardano. But nevertheless, the trend's very much down on the medium term. Out of interest here, what is it? Okay. Cool, so yeah, it just looks so much to me straight away. I said I wouldn't do it, but that just look how perfect that is. Literally like a impulse ABC impulse. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, when you see this, the first thing that I would do straight away is from the last major high downtrend to the low. Just be aware of what these fib levels are, okay? Okay, so you're only going to be above right now. 236 is at 583 sats. I could line that up exactly. About 584, 583 sats, okay? So this is what I like to do myself. I'm very much I prefer to have too much data written down than not enough data. I'm that kind of guy. So I would have on a notepad written in front of me, Cardano, 854 sats, overall 236. I want to be aware of this just so when we reach the level, I can look at Cardano, I can look at in front of me, see Cardano, and I will have written down these key levels because this for me is a key level, okay? So that's the way I manage it, because otherwise you're going to forget this, because I don't like to have this on my chart. As you'll notice, not my charts of I just prefer deleting things basically, and having it written down in front of me. That's just the way I work. Maybe you like to have everything on your chart, but I find it a little bit messy myself. I don't like working with lots of things on the screen. I find it really confusing actually. So I prefer to write down the levels and then delete it, so that's a personal preference, I guess, though some people like have it all on their screen. But yeah, that's the first thing I would note from high there down to the low. 236 currently sat at 584 sats. Okay, the second thing that I would do is more on a smaller time frame. Okay, smaller time frame from the last high, okay, last high down to the low. 618, always a key level. Okay, it's always a key level. 553 sats. Okay, so that's another level you've got to be aware of. 553 sats. Okay, so that's obviously from that high to that low. Okay, so now what can we be looking at here? Well, I would argue that we're in a, arguably an accumulation range. Okay, so we're clearly range bound right now. But it's looking pretty decent in my opinion. But nevertheless, we're just range bound sideways, so you want to be a little bit cautious. But then let's drop down now. So let's drop down. So how can we actually be looking for a trade? So the first thing I'd be looking at is the last swing that we've taken. Okay, so from this last sort of swing that we're working on, remember internal, external? Okay, so from this low up to that high, that was what we were working on over the last 24 hours. We're actually back internal, or we are back internal right now. Okay, but if we were looking at just this price action, this bit of data that we have here, okay, what we can do is from low up to the high of this last swing that we were in. Okay, so this is the last swing low to the last swing high. This is how you're going to need to look for your negative levels basically. So from the last low to the last high, we've come down here. Okay, and we have hit, by the way, just so you're aware, hit the 786. So you did hit the 786, and price did not get up to any negative targets. As you can see here, you've not hit any negative target at all. So that hasn't really been too helpful. But what we can also look at is from high down to the low of this last swing and put on a extension. Well, here you have hit the 1313. Okay, I would say I haven't traded Cardano here, but what you can say is you'd have more have expected this to hit 537 sats. Obviously, the high here is 536, so it's missed it by 1 sat. But that's trading for you. Maybe too many people have sell orders sale 137, because I would have said if I'd seen this. Okay, and we start breaking up like this, and I would have said, well, yeah, I'd expect 537 sats if I'm honest with you. What you've hit is 536. And price has now come back internal into the range, but that's trading. It's not, you don't get perfection, you don't get absolute perfection on levels, but that's yeah, one sat off. So what else could you be looking at here? This is, I'm going to say now, it's above any of the major fibs, but from that last high to that last low, just for what I'd say is, okay, so you did hit the 736, which was on the 1313. So that, yeah, could have been, yeah, that, I mean, it's hard for me to say because this is really hindsight, but when you see the 786 and obviously it's on the 1313, you're going to see some resistance there. But obviously this is the thing. You're more likely to see resistance there on a coin you can short, because you have to remember, for instance, Komodo, you can't short, but Cardano you can short. So when something is open to being shorted, I say you get more selling pressure on the coin. Imagine, Komodo runs really well. This is just a little bit off topic as well, I guess, but Komodo, I know when it starts going up, the uptrend is really strong and continues. But Cardano is not the same, is it? Cardano, the uptrends are really weak and it stays range bound for so long. Okay, so this is obviously range bound. This is range bound for 113 days. I would say, well, Cardano, you can short. This is why you get selling pressure at lower levels. Just compare this really quickly to Komodo. Okay, look at Komodo. This recently done a 136% gain in 20 days. So, you know, Komodo runs really well. You cannot short this coin. Less selling pressure, I would say. Whereas you refer to Cardano, you hit the 786 and you're getting rejected from the level. Obviously, you can short this on BitMEX and Binance. So that's my perspective on why you could have seen a front run, potentially just trying to give a reason of why that could have potentially happened. You can short this coin, basically. Okay, so then how does that leave you looking for a trade now? Okay, so if you're looking for a trade, let's say on Cardano, fibs from low to high. Okay, so we have hit the, yes, you have hit this 0.5 here. Okay, let's come down to the 15-minute. Okay, so for me, I don't really, what I like to see to buy retracements is actually more of a lower high. And then once you start breaking down, that's where then you get confluences of your from high to low negative fib levels. Okay, and then you have also this swing for your extensions. So you kind of need 3 pivot points before you can start doing the fibs. And this is where other tools are handy. If I'm honest, like on this straight move down, I would have to refer to another tool. But, you know, you really need 3 pivot points to start doing fibs. But nevertheless, all you have right now is really this standard fib from high to low. And we could add in horizontals, but I'm not going to focus on that. Let's move on to the next coin and see how it's looking. Oh, Atom. Oh, God. This coin, how perfect was that, literally? Oh, I loved it, to be honest with you. Atom, absolute beast. But let's forget about all that right now. What did we have going on here? Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit on Atom. Okay, so simply, how can we be looking for targets of this one? From low, okay, again, low up to the high. Okay, we know that this pretty much hit the 618 here. So it did pretty much hit the 618, but you know, we obviously take this long. So what else was there here? So let's now put on the negative, okay, and say if this is going to continue up from here, we're now looking for targets. Okay, so we've hit a double top basically. Okay, but if this is to continue running, we might be looking for higher levels, a Fibonacci only right now off of the last swing. Okay, negative 236, negative 618 for confluence, the last high down to the low. Okay, we're going to put on the extension. And you can see here on this extension, the 1414 lines up with the 236. So you would be taking profits here, I would say. But this is the thing. I myself am not trading exclusively off of fibs. So, you know, I've got other levels in here, but I know it might seem a bit of a strange stream of me doing only fibs, but I think this is the reason I'm doing this is just so you can really confidently use fibs. But just a real big disclaimer, I'm not trading like this exclusively using this for my targets. I am using other tools, but nevertheless, if we're only going to use fibs, what would be saying for is that 1414 take profit 1, take profit 2, the 2 and the negative 618. Okay, and that's obviously from here 30%. Okay, and then what else would I add on here? I would go on to a higher time frame. Okay, and I would go from the start of this drop down to the low of this drop. Okay, I'd put on a standard fib. And, oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. So, literally, the 6.6 there, lining up on this 618 and the 2 extension. That's pretty impressive, I think. That's pretty impressive. Okay, so that would have to be a major take profit. You also have an order block in here. So, this is a really big resistance, isn't it? So, 6286. You know, I'm not saying we're going up this high, by the way. I'm not saying we're going up that high. But I'm just saying if price starts to get up here, well, you've got to be taking profits, because that's a major resistance. Okay, okay, so what else could we look for here? I would add in a few more levels from the overall low to the first high. Okay, again, you can see how it hits the 618. Just how amazing is this level alone? But obviously from the low to the high, hit the 618. From there, by the way, that's 100% gain. But nevertheless. From the low up to the high, that's obviously hit the 618, moved to 100%. Let's move this on to the negative. Okay, Look at that. So you've hit around the 1-to-1 and you've started to pull back here. Okay, so these are obviously looking for targets. The 1-to-1 there, the -618. Okay, and that -618 lines up very nicely, doesn't it? So the -618 there actually does line up really nicely with this 618, if I'm not going crazy. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's perfect, to be honest with you. So look at the confluence that you have here. This is just so nice. Oh yeah, look at all this lining up right now. Oh, look at that. 618, 618, -618, 0.618. Yeah, but that doesn't scream to you like if it gets up that high, that's not a take profit region. That's like, yeah, this is a major resistance area. So just be aware of that. But yeah, that's basically how you'd be looking for targets. If you're in a long, that's how I'd be looking for the targets, and I would just say that's screaming at me like a big resistance area. Okay, so I would also do last pull of this low to this high. Put on the extension. Oh wow. Okay, so yeah, you've hit the 2618 here. So of that high to the low, okay, you have actually seen a reaction at the 1618, and there's the 2618 of this last swing, 2618 extension. So you can see, I guess, why you're finding resistance. Let me just really quickly. Yeah, let me just go through these comments really quick, and then I'll move on to the next alt. Hi Daniel, in the afternoon I asked you how are you so certain to take profit during this big rally. Your answer is you just have to judge where the move is likely to end or wait for the trend change to bearish. But applying this to the rally of 7.4 to 10k rally, wouldn't you have missed out on the whole rally since there was no pullback? Oh, what are you on about? So this rally here, so I can tell you from experience how I traded this rally. This rally for me, obviously I'd done it pretty well because I did buy 7,400. I didn't enter a short the whole way up. So this whole rally, this whole move, I didn't enter a short on the whole way up. I asked you how you are so certain to take profits during this big rally. So basically, how you're looking to take profits when something rallies hard. Okay, so when something rallies hard, you got to just use. Well, just think for yourself, I guess, of where you're looking to take profits. So I guess for me, I can remember well, this was in a channel, wasn't it? So this was channeling, and this is why I shouldn't delete my charts. Well, obviously I don't delete my own charts, but these lesson charts, I have nothing on here. We were looking at this, if I remember correctly. That was the deviation, and I can remember I did take profits here. So yeah, for me, obviously I closed out some of my position before the absolute top, but you just have to say that in the time when you were looking at it like this, well, price did come up to a major resistance, which was 8,800 being the top. You know, got the pullback. It never obviously done a bearish market structure. You wouldn't short this, and I remember very well. I told everyone, you know, I'm not shorting any of this move. So I didn't short the whole rally, and I was in spot long for the whole rally after buying 7,400. And obviously here, when I was looking to take profits, my take profit that was here was simply because of the fact I was trading the range. So this for me was the range, deviation from the range back to the top of the range, take profits. The same goes for now, I guess. Like, you know, that 7,700 would be a take profit if you longed down here. Well, again, so this is from my perspective. Okay, so from my perspective, obviously what you've done is you hit the 618 and you come back up to the highs. Okay, obviously we're through it now, but nevertheless for me it's a take profit when you come back up to the highs. Okay, so when we done this, okay, for me this is from the 618 hitting the high again, getting a pullback, and this is a pullback of, you know, $150 odd. So that for me is like, you know, just take profits. You don't necessarily have to close out the whole position, but if you don't lock in profits there, I think you're making the wrong choice. So and obviously on the 5-minute chart that would have been coming down here like with lower highs and lower lows. Well, it's a little bit of a not great, but lower highs and lower lows, so you would be taking profits there, wouldn't you? But applying this to the rally of 4.7 to 10.6, you would have missed out on the whole rally since there was no pullback. Oh, so you're meaning if you literally didn't buy any of it? Oh, so I see what you mean. Okay, I misunderstood your question. I thought you were saying how to take profit. Well, I guess if you were in zero position, Okay, so if you were in zero position from 7,400, oh yeah, I think you could definitely have missed the whole move. I'm not going to lie to you right there. I think if you didn't have the balls to buy 7,400, you very much missed the whole move, to be honest with you. And that's trading for you. That you cannot buy everything. But I really do personally believe if you did not buy there, you missed out on this 45% rise, 100%, because there was no opportunity to buy back here. You know, there was no pullbacks. So if there's no pullbacks, if you are strict on yourself as a trader, there's no entry for you right there. There really is not an entry, because what you have to see is that there was no pullback, or very, 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 very small pullbacks. Okay, you got no sort of bull flag, did you? So you got no pullback like this to buy the dip. It was just all upward sloping consolidation, which is dangerous to buy in the time. So yeah, to answer your question, I 100% think you would have missed out on this move. Okay, I really do think you would have missed out on that move if you didn't buy down here. Thankfully, I bought at the bottom, so I didn't miss it. But yeah, if I didn't bought there, I would not have bought here. Okay, so after seeing that rise, which you have to think even in that time was 16%, that there's no way I would have bought 8,600. This for me is taking profits, not entering longs. Okay, so to answer your question, yeah, I really think you would have missed out on the whole move if you didn't have bought early. Okay, yeah, you would have missed out on the whole move, 100%. I'm pretty sure. To help others, I have an indicator to print higher highs, higher lows. It's very helpful. Cool. Yeah, you can share that, Igor. Turning a bit late. Hello. On Atom, all-time high. On Atom, all-time high to all-time low. Fib pool has 0.5 around 6,000 as well. Oh, right, I see what you mean. So from here to here, and you're going 0.5. I think this is the pool that you're on about. Yeah, more or less. So yeah, you have got that 5,889 more or less. That's what I meant. Cool. Yeah, so yeah, that's just trading for you though. Sometimes if you don't get in early, you do miss moves. Yeah, to be honest, that just happens in trading, doesn't it? This question was asked in the Champs Bitcoin TA, but if you don't mind, maybe you already answered previously. What was the major reason you bought 7.4k? And a major reason that I bought 7.4k was simply because, well, for me, you were hitting the overall 618. You were just like overall hitting the 618. Well, actually, my biggest reason. So my biggest reason was this, and I think my biggest reason was the liquidity grab of the lows. Okay, so this was my number one reason. Again, obviously this was before that we saw this, so it was before we saw that. My biggest reason at the time was buying this liquidity grab. Okay, getting below the, for me it was, that's where all the stops were set. People that bought 3,000, and I'm getting really off topic here, but people that bought 3,000, moving up their stops, higher lows, moving up their stops, higher lows, moving up their stops, higher lows, moving up their stops, higher lows. This is obviously not made a higher low because you don't take the high, so there's so many stops below that low. Okay, so we had the simple fact that there's so many stops being taken there. It's a liquidity grab, isn't it? It's a liquidity grab. So that for me was the number one reason, and I remember speaking about that while price was at 10k. But that wasn't the number one reason for me looking at 7,400. Obviously, on top of that, you did have the 618 just below you. Obviously, I had laddered entries, but nevertheless, you had that support just below you. And it turned out being a scenario where there were so many people waiting for it, it got front run, and you got the short squeeze on top of the FOMO of people missing out of buying it. So yeah, but primarily it was just the liquidity grab of the low. Would be great to see you do a couple of clean markups on every live stream. It's great to put your train of thoughts. Very helpful. Yeah, I can start doing that. I think like in the champion stream, I can do that. Wow, this is some. Oh wow, yeah, this is a chart I must have done for writing up some notes. So that's a support resistance flip for you all. Let's just delete everything here a second. Okay, so BAT, basic attention token, another really nice mover if we're honest here. So what we're doing first of all, fibs from high down to the low. Look at that. Okay, so just look at that. So from the high, how do we know? We're talking about the overall high to the overall low. Just like I said on ADA, this is a level you'd have written on your bit of paper, or this is how I do it. That's a level I would have written on my bit of paper, saying to myself, well, this is going to be a very high resistance level. Be aware of what's going to happen here. And as you can see, that's why I do it, because from the overall high to the overall low, you've hit the 236, and you've seen a pullback of nearly 30%. That's a lot, to be honest. But yeah, so that's the first thing I'd note on the chart. 236. Okay, so we've hit that, we've got a pullback. Okay, so now how does that leave us for a trade? Okay, so how does that leave us for a trade? Let's say we're bearish right now. Okay, so if we're bearish right now, what's happened? Let's go on to the 4-minute chart. 4-hour chart. Okay, so what I would say here on the 4-hour chart is, first of all, I'm going to say, well, where's support likely going to be? High to low right now. So I'd say we're sat in the 618. There's this for me, when we're sat in the Champions channel like this, it's always a region that any chart you're going to find a little bit of support. But it might just give these sort of boxes, they might literally just give a 0.5% bounce before it carries down, but you normally get some form of a small reaction. But nevertheless, you are sat on this level, so just be aware that you are sat on the 618. Okay, so now what else can we start looking at? Okay, next one I'm going to add is on fib extensions, and this is from a bearish scenario. Let's pretend we're short on the coin. Okay, oh, look at it. Okay, so from high to low, we came up to the Champions channel here. We hit it once, we hit it twice, and we got rejected. It really is perfect, isn't it? Let's be honest. High to low, we've got a rejection here. So now let's say this was our short entry then. Let's just say this was our short entry. So we've entered a short here, and now we're looking for targets on the short. We know that we're sat in the 618, so that's one target. Okay, let's put on the negative. Okay, so the negative 618 is coming down at 2470, negative 236, 2685. We know from high to this low, we've also got in here the 618 that we're on. Okay, and then the last pull that I would take here is from low up to the high of the last swing that you're in. Add on the extension. Okay, so you do have right now the 618 sat on the 1313. So you can actually see here. You see here, if you zoom in really closely, you did hit the 618 actually, and you did get a bounce of 3%. So that's the 618 to the sat, giving a 3% rise. Oh, it's crazy. But there's a 3% rise off the 618. But clearly you've hit that 618. You're coming down a little bit now, aren't you? So I would say there's no confluence at these levels really. They're not really overly close. Obviously this level is pretty close, but below this 2361414, there's nothing close. You can see there is a horizontal there actually. Yeah, you do have support around the 1414, but yeah, then you've got nothing on this 1618 and the 612. Obviously it would be the lows. It would be like lining up with the lows, so you would expect to find support, but there's no major, in terms of Fibonacci, there's no major level I would say, oh, there's a trade. I myself, if this was presented to me as a chart, I wouldn't be able to trade it off of fibs right now from where it is. I just wouldn't trade it off of fibs. I'd have to refer to another tool. I don't think there's a trade off of fibs here. Okay, obviously we had the short. Let's say we got into the short, but then from the take profit area, I would have to refer to something else. Wouldn't be able to decipher where I'm going to take my take profits off of this. Off the bat, I would say around a 1414, but yeah, I'd need to use some other tools. But you can see how it nailed a 3% bounce there, and it also got from that 10% loss, well, I guess from the 6.6, about a 11% loss from where you are now. So the fibs there have been useful. Undeniably, they've been useful. But for a target, I would need to refer to something else there. Okay, so Engine Coin. Engine Coin, another one of these which has just seen unreal downtrends. Okay, so first fib. Well, actually, for me, this one, so volatile, isn't it? It's crazy volatile. You might want to put it on log scale, okay? So on log scale, because it's just so volatile, I'd say from this last high, my last major high before the drop, okay, put on there the standard, and we need to change that to on log scale. So you can see here the 236 sits at 937 sats. Okay, so on 9 to 9 937 sats. You've got to have that written down on your sheet of paper. That's your 236 of the first scale. Just seeing here, really interesting. Okay, so 937 sats. Let's remove that a second. So from 937 sats, that's our big one. Okay, that's our big one. Let's just zoom in here. Well, I guess first of all, I'm just seeing what we done there. So we did take that high. We literally did just get you basically swing failure the high. You got a drop of 14%, and then you have come up and hit the high again to the sat and seen another 17% rise. So I mean, this for me is still internal from this low to this high. It's still all internal right now. And that's really, really clearly the big resistance at 879 sats. Literally swing failure, hit it to the sat. So that for me is the resistance right now. But okay, so let's say we're seeing a rejection from that high, from the low up to the high. Okay, we got the 0.5, which looks like a really nice level, doesn't it? So the 0.5 is 705 sats. Okay, so now we're thinking of 705 sats. Let's see if we can get confluence at 705. Okay, so from high down to the low. Okay, so from high to the low, the negative fib, yeah, nice. You've hit the so you've hit the 236 firstly, 8% rise. Okay, but then the second 618, negative 618, sits at the 618. For me, this is like building a confluence at around, let's just say 660 sats. This is starting to look pretty nice if you get down to here. But as we can see, currently you are bouncing off of the negative 236, and again, this is pretty much to the sat bounce. You're bouncing off of that, just so you can see it, like it really does work. Okay, so the next one that I'd be looking at, okay, so that was obviously where we went from here, from high to the low. Okay, next one I'd be looking at is from low to the high and add on the extension. Okay, so on here you did have the confluence. Okay, so here you had the confluence. Obviously the highs are really similar, and this is where it's a little bit obvious that it would be, I guess, but from the negative 236 you also had the 1272 extension. Okay, so you did have these confluences, and you can see actually there really nicely how the original wick come onto the 236. You got a bounce. Your secondary come down to the 272 and it got another bounce. So you can see the confluence that was there on those levels. Actually, you can actually take this out of log a second, but yeah, you have nice support from these levels at 725, but it's already seen the bounce. Then you have 708, to be honest, 708. And if you go from the low here to the high, and put that on standard, oh wow, okay, yes, look at that. So that's why you bounced 8%. From the low to the high, you had look at the confluence. Okay, this is why I should have been trading alts. Well, actually, no, I did trade Engine Coin. I actually did trade Engine Coin 2 days ago. So, yeah, I forgot. I did trade this, by the way. But, yeah, so that you did have the 618 there on the 1272 on the 236, and that's clearly Fibonacci confluence right there. You arguably can't get any stronger than that, and that did give a bounce. My entry was at a different point, by the way, so this wasn't my entry. I missed this, but I did enter it at a later date. But yeah, that's like clearly fib confluence. That's given like an 8-9% bounce, and yeah, it's pretty decent, isn't it? So that's how we could be looking for targets on the way down. And now, obviously, if this starts to hold, well, on the way up, we can do the same sort of thing of where we might expect to find resistance. So hit the 382 there. Okay. We have then gone from this low to this high. Okay, put on negative. Okay, so we had the 382, the 236 at the same level. And then from this high to this low, we can go extension. And okay, so you see this now. Negative 236, 382 from high to low, 1618 extension. That's your Fibonacci confluence, and you did get rejected at that point. Okay, so we can clearly now explain why we saw the bounce and why we've seen the rejection. Okay, we can clearly see why it's happened, can't we? Okay, yeah, we can just explain why it's happening. Pretty nice. Let me just see. Can you please explain why you changed to log scale? Okay, yeah, good question. So yeah, I will explain that. So the reason why I changed to log scale, okay, log scale has two good uses. Okay, so you can see here, for me, log scale is only, I only use log scale for two reasons. Okay, and I think the best way I can explain this is when I come across to this chart. Okay, so for instance, this is Bitcoin right here. Let's just delete everything a second. This is Bitcoin, yeah. So for me, there's two reasons why I'll go into log scale. The first reason I'll go into log scale is because the price is really, really, really volatile. Like 1,000% percentage moves equals very, very parabolic, really, really volatile, like Engine Coin is. Engine Coin is really, really, really volatile. So that's a use case for log scale. So log scale has two use cases. The first use case is when something is extremely volatile, extremely volatile. The second use case is, for instance, when you come across to something with a lot of old price history. So we can say, you know, Bitcoin has an old price history. You know, you're going back, coming on, you know, quite a few years. So start of this chart, 2011. So coming on. So you just, I want to say, you either use it when it's volatile. Well, Bitcoin's actually really volatile, or you use it when there's a lot of history. And I would say that this has a lot of history, because you can see at the start of the chart here, okay, you cannot really differentiate between, well, at the start, for example, here at $11, you can't really tell what's going on the chart, can you? There's no way you can really chart that, because it's taken every you know, the price is just done to the numbers. It's not done on percentages. So when you go onto log scale, this is like percentages done on the right hand side. So each move is like a percentage based. So obviously when you're seeing a big high percentages moves, it becomes really distorted, and you cannot really chart when you're not on log scale. So you see the difference? Like obviously you can start to chart this, because this is obviously a high percentage move back in the day. This was a massively high percentage move, but because it was like really small in terms of the price that it is now, it doesn't show on the chart. So what's happening from $1 to $10 is not going to show on the standard chart, because you're now sat at $7,000, yeah. But if you want to look at that and actually know that $1 to $10 is obviously a really big move in percentages, it's a really big move. So you go onto the log scale, and that's where you can see these really parabolic moves. You can see that history. So the two use cases of log scale are really old data that you want to refer back to, or if some of the data is really parabolic and volatile, and you also might want to use the log scale. For example, like this, if we take it off a log and you go from the overall low to the overall high, okay, and you put on standard, you'll see that the 618 is sat at 7,500, okay. But if you put it on log and you go from the overall low to the overall high, and then change this to use log scale, well, then the 618 is sat at $71. You know, I don't think this is ever going to hit, but you know, the standard scale, the 618, 7,000, what did I just say, 7,500, log scale $71. So this is obviously, you know, percentages. It's all based off of percentages, but that's the two use cases of log scale. That's why I changed into it. Yeah, I can see Bitcoin's moving up. There you go. I thought it would. I had confidence here. So yeah, that's pretty nice. All I would say is you kind of might want to take some profits. So if you're in a long, you can always just take profits to protect yourself from a double top. But yeah, I'm happy this is moving up. So yeah, what was I moving on to? Let's move on to EOS. Okay, EOS. I hope that has explained well enough for you as well. Please let me know if you have another question. I'll happily take it. So EOS here. Let's come off the 3-minute chart. Okay, cool. So EOS. Okay. So if we are looking, let's say we're trading this bearishly at this moment in time. So from low up to the high, we have come down to the Champions channel, and we've seen a bounce. That's 6.6, by the way. How much was that? I'm always just interested. That was 8%. So we have come from low to high. We've hit the Champions channel. We got a bounce, and we're heading. Let's just say we think we're heading back down from here. Okay, so we believe we're heading back down. So where can we start to get confluences for targets? Let's say we're in a short position. Okay, so from this, I would say, well, very simply, we would be aware that this is a support. We'd be aware that this is a support level. Okay, from there, let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so the swings here are not actually too nice. It's not really, really nice swings, if I'm honest. But nevertheless, we have a little bit to work on. From high to low, of the first swing high to the first swing low. And I would put on the negative. No confluence at these levels, really. There's no, you see it as on just the standard fibs with the negative, there's no real confluence. They don't line up very nicely, so I'd say there's nothing on those. And then from the first pivot low to your next high before the drop extension, you didn't really have anything lining up here. Well, I guess you did actually at the 382 here. That's the first level you got a bit of confluence at, and you actually did bounce there for 4%. So you can see that that's the only level where something sticks out at you. 1618 at the 382. But I would say there's not really any nice Fibonacci confluence there for any of these levels. There's not really anything there. If we just delete everything a second, what we could have done is moved on to some more internal, more smaller time frame work. What we could have done is put an extension on this last low to the last high. There you have a 1618 holding you up, and you could have looked for the confluence of the last high before where it got impulsively to the downside, put that on the negative. Doesn't really line up perfect. There's nothing lining up here perfectly in my opinion, but 1618. Okay, I guess I forgot to add in here the overall, and that was the low there. Okay, so you did have this confluence here. Okay, so on that last pivot, actually, you had the negative 236 sat on the 618. So you did have a bit of confluence there. Actually, you can see it got wicked through. It did get wicked through, but you just see. It's hard for me to say very quickly, but wouldn't have had a stop loss so tight to have got stopped out on that. I would have said your stop losses would have been down around 3,300. So you shouldn't have got stopped on that. But nevertheless, there was confluence actually on that 618. So there was the 618 on the negative 236. Obviously the extension side of 618 inside of the golden pocket is really, really nice, isn't it? That is really, really nice. All I would say, I want to move back to Bitcoin really quickly, and I want to explain one more thing to you all, okay? Of why this was a really nice long. Okay, and it's going back to the lessons that I gave, basically. It's going back to what was this lesson? This was the lesson, this might have been lesson number 1. I think this was lesson number 1. This was lesson number 1, I'm pretty sure. And if you think back to that lesson, it was champions channels within champions channels. What did we have on Bitcoin today? So this was another reason actually of why that was a good long. Obviously, I've already given you the head and shoulders, the 618, the order block. So I've already given you those reasons, but you actually had another one. So as you all know, from the overall low to the overall high, we were inside of the champions channel. Okay, so what was it called? The champions channel within the champions channel. Okay, so that's why the long was really, really nice as well, because inside of the overall CC you had another CC. It's just like even stronger. Yeah, it's even stronger. So yeah, that was another reason why I nearly forgot about to explain of why that was a good long. I just remembered it then that, yeah, you had the CC inside of the overall CC on Bitcoin. Like, oh yeah, there was a lot of reasons to long that, and yeah, people definitely long that with me, so I'm pretty proud to have seen that. But yeah, there was so much confluence on that long, and look at that. So you have literally just actually taken the high there. This is why if I was trading myself, like, I like to take profits, but yeah, you could have taken, should have I guess in hindsight we can say should have taken profits at that double top. So you've wicked it. The volume is not really too high, but The volume is not massive on the rejection, is it? So, but nevertheless, you've still hit a double top. You've still got a rejection. You've still seen a 1%. You know, you could definitely sculpt that, and if you sold, took profits there, you could buy back lower if you wanted to. But well, yeah, you know, this is trading for you. Like, people do this. So you have just taken the high back down, taken the high back down, saw a bit of a sell-off, and this, in my opinion, is because, well, if you take highs, you need to see follow through. Okay, if I'm in a long here. Okay, if I'm in a long here and price comes up, takes the high straight back down. Price comes up, takes the high straight back down. Is that showing to you, oh yeah, this is definitely moving up? Or are you thinking, okay, we're hitting resistance. Why is price not moving up? Well, price is not moving up because people are selling at this level. So if you see this, you might be thinking, okay, yeah, I don't want to lock in profits. Now after this move down, well, I would say you're still in profits. You might want to lock in some more profits, you know. But yeah, I've said many times, people don't go broke taking profits. But yeah, that's could end with a shooting star here. So this hourly has got 20 minutes left. This could end in a shooting star bearish candle after taking the high potentially. Yeah, if I was actually in my account right now, I'd take profits, but I'm gonna do one more altcoin, and then I think I'm gonna actually go. But let's do one more altcoin, because there's no way I got to EOS. I got 25% through this, and I'm already at 1 hour 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to get through all of these tonight. So to be honest with you, let's go over a nice one then. So what would I say has traded the nicest? Let's go over ontology, because ontology is being really volatile, hasn't it? So let's do ontology. Let's just remove everything. Okay, so on ontology, firstly, where's the first fib that we're taking here? Okay, the first one where we're looking for resistance would have been the last high before the major break to the low. Okay, last major high before the break. Okay, what we can see here, as we all know, this was helped by China, but nevertheless, it pumped really, really fast. Okay, I want to say it was helped by China, but I actually don't believe it was. But I'll explain why I believe it pumped, actually. So I will explain why I believe it pumped. I'm not going to say China didn't help, because I do think it helped. But I'm also not a guy that says it happened because of the news. I'm more of a guy that says, there you had the low of the range. There you had the high of the range. Okay, this was a range that you were inside of for about 104 days. What you done was you used swing failure to low. So everybody that had longed over 104 days, everyone that longed there, it's very, very, very likely got their stop loss below the low. So what did you do? You come down, you took the low, you took all the liquidity, everybody sells, you get the move back up. What does people start doing? Well, they start thinking, oh my God, I just sold, I want to buy back in. So then you get an increased move to the upside. Okay, so I'm looking at this from a technical reason why this pump happened. Others will say it was because of the China news and ontology as a Chinese alt. I'm not saying that didn't help, because I'm sure it did. But we can see from a technical reason why it happened as well. But nevertheless, on the highs here, the highs for me are very simple to explain. Well, all you done here was you swing failure patterned the highs. Okay, so you did swing failure the highs, and it's also the 382. So obviously 382 being a very important fib level. Okay, so yeah, that I think we can safely say why it got rejected at that high. Okay, so we'll remove that a second. Okay, so now let's come down to the 1 hour. Okay, so from the 1 hour, well, now we can start to say that, let's again say that we're bearish on this coin and we're expecting lower prices. Okay, we'll just say that we're bearish on the coin. Okay, so the first way we're looking for support is from the low to the high. Well, we're dancing around the 666 here. We're dancing around it. Okay, we are dancing around it, to be honest. So we can just see, you know, this is likely the reason why we're dancing around it so much. Firstly, because, well, when we look at what was the old range high, you know, that was the old range high on the higher time frame. You have actually come and back tested that and up 10%. So that's the first reason I'd say. That's the biggest reason, actually. Didn't want to go over anything other than fibs, but that's the reason. So it's got nothing to do with fibs, in my opinion. High resistance bounce, you know. You don't need Fibonacci to do that. But yeah, let's go off of fibs a second. So from that, what else can we add in here? Let's add a negative fib from high down to the low. Just be amazed. Just be amazed. From that high to the low, we hit the 618. Okay, you're down 25%. Okay, so we know why we got rejected, but now let's put on the negatives. Okay, and we can say, oh, okay, wow, look at that. So the old resistance was also the support, and the negative 236 caught it, yeah, by the absolute sat. Yeah, that's amazing. So it did catch it by the sat. Or actually one sat off, apologies, one sat off. So you got the negative 236 there. So now we can say, well, we're building a case of why we've bounced, actually. We are building that case very much so, of being the CC just above it. You have the old resistance flipping into support. Okay, you have the negative 236, and there's one more that I would take, and that's from this low to this high. Put that as an extension. You don't really have confluence actually of the extension, if we're honest here. You don't have it, because the 1272 and the one, it doesn't really line up with anything, does it? So there's no confluence on the extension. There is no confluence on the extension. There's one more that I would do, and this is a sneak peek of next week when I would take this actually, and yeah, there was no confluence either. So yeah, I think this was a bounce. In my opinion, it was more of a bounce of simply resistance flipping into support. But to back it up as well, you also had the confluence of the 236. But for me, it's more that it was the old range high. You've come down, you've retested the range high after a substantial move to the upside. You're going to expect to find support, aren't you? And you did find support. But yeah, that's what I would say now. And then in terms of where you could rally up to, well, let's just do it again. So from high down to the low. Let's say the 382 is sat at 910 sats. Okay, so 910 sats. What else can we add on to this? Okay, I would add a negative from this low to this high. Okay, so the 981, 918, 953. Let's just add on an extension. We don't have this low yet, but we can extend this one. 618, and I would actually add in one more fib here. Okay, so from this high down to the low, you did actually hit the champions channel and got a rejection. Again, got a rejection. So that's what you're rejecting from actually at the moment. But if you go back a pivot, let's say that we get through it, back a pivot. Yeah, there's so much resistance. So you got around this 920. 920 is pretty big resistance. Oh yeah, 930, 930. I would say 930, 920. This sort of region is a high resistance point where you would expect like possibly to definitely be taking profits actually, if you want to like long that. But yeah, that's basically the way that I like to use fibs. And again, like I don't use fibs on their own, but like when you start to see the confluences on some of these levels, they are really, really, really strong. They are, I do love Fibonacci. And I think today you could have literally nailed the low here using fibs alone, to be honest with you. They are really, really powerful. Still trading the ranges in Theta. Yeah, Theta is absolutely still range bound. So yeah, you still can trade. You can still trade that Theta range. But yeah, like Fibonacci is absolutely great. It really, really, really is. Like you don't really want to just use it alone, but you arguably can. But it's really, really, really strong. In general, Bitcoin on the larger time frame, it's still lower high, lower low, so still looks bearish. I agree with you. I do still think, I can't say it's bullish. I can't say I'm bullish on the midterm at the moment. But, there's a difference between, I'm not actually in a short anymore, so I'm out of my short. So I'm only in a long. And I agree with you that this is definitely bearish. I really agree with you that this is bearish market structure. And this doesn't signify that we're going up to 20k. But I am more of a level to level, small time frame sort of trader, arguably, I would say. And for me, there was the opportunity of the long. There's the opportunity of the longs. I do believe that we are overall bearish. Okay, I do believe that we are overall. Well, it's undeniable. It's undeniable that we are clearly going lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and that doesn't change now until you break 9,000, 10,500. You know, so you could just do this, or even just like this and this. So, you know, I do agree with you that this is still bearish. But even though I still think that Bitcoin, I agree with you, still Bitcoin is still bearish. But there's still 100% opportunities to be had to the long side, and this is why I'm just so comfortable trading both sides of the market. I'm literally so unbiased. I couldn't care less if I literally couldn't care less if Bitcoin here goes to 20k or if Bitcoin goes to 2k. Would make zero difference to me in the world. I will happily trade it up and down. You know, I did trade this. I actually traded it short from around the 9,000s after you broke the low down to, well, about the 7Ks. And now I've traded it long today. So, you know, I've traded this down and I'll now trade it up, looking for the monthly around 7.7. But if we have just put in a high off for that swing failure, then I'll come out. But yeah, I agree with you. The market structure is bearish on the macro, but what we can say is on the smaller term time frames, there was definitely the opportunity for the longs. But on the bigger time frames, well, yeah, it's definitely still bearish. You can't get euphoric to the ball for the bulls. Absolutely, you can't. I mean, yeah, you can't. It's still heading down. So yeah, and now you can see why you should have taken profits at the high. And I wish I had, to be honest, but I was in the stream. Never mind. Cool. Does anybody have any questions at all regarding fibs? I'll stay on the stream for another 5 minutes if there's questions. If there's no questions, I'll wrap it up. If anyone has a question, let me know. I'll stay for like 1 minute. And if no questions come in, I'll wrap it up. But I take it, you know, from my perspective, if there's no questions, everything's been understood. So you have to ask me questions, because this is the thing. For me, it's all so natural. Like when I'm doing this, it is really, really, really natural for me. And that does lead to sometimes missing important things of what for me is natural and easy, for somebody else is so foreign. I could overlook something, you know. So by asking me a question, it will actually make me realize, oh yeah, I did miss that, or yeah, I didn't explain that. So I enjoy the questions. You got to ask me. That's what you pay for, I guess, as well. So make the most of it. But yeah, if nobody has any questions, I'll take it that I've explained it well. And I will end the stream. Bitcoin moving down from weekly plus bearish divergences on RSI. Yes, I do agree with you there will be bearish divergences there. I can guarantee it 100%. You got bearish divergences. I already know that you will have. So when you come down here, okay, you look at this. Yeah, you definitely got bearish divergences there. So you are on the weekly, you have got bearish divergences. Can you change your extensions to expansion? So now, yes, I will do that. I will do that right now. So we want to put that on extension, okay? And I want to actually delete that, and I want to save that as expansion. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that makes sense. I should have done that before, to be honest. Will you ever do a session on stocks? I have some general questions on stock trading. Yeah, like the thing is, I'd prefer to go through my main content before I go back to stocks. Obviously, I've done that stock trading part 1, and I do plan to do another one where I go through more so options trading. But you know, like a stock trading part 2. But it's probably not going to be in the foreseeable future, just because I have other content that I prefer to go through before I go back onto stocks. To be honest, I've still got a lot to cover, and yeah, if I'm honest with you, stocks probably are not going to be for the next few months, just because crypto right now is where it's at in terms of like the volatility. Firstly, the volatility. Secondly, the material that I still have to go through. Yeah, I want to get to stocks, I do, but it's probably not going to be in the immediate short term, to be honest with you. Do you find that a long-term fib pool will also give past support resistance areas, as a fib pool will show 1 year ago? Yeah, you very likely will have. So for example, when we do look at let's look at Bitcoin. Let's just say Bitcoin. That when we do look at a long-term fib pool from low to high, let's say. Yeah, you can see this. So you can just look. Okay, so the 0.5 was old resistance, old resistance. We'd have to zoom in on a lower time frame to see this bit better, but it's clearly been old resistance in the past. The 382, look at that, old support, resistance, resistance, resistance. Zoom in a little bit more. Support, 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 resistance, and then just before the breakdown, resistance. So yeah, to answer the question, yeah, you can. To be considered a higher high in your Bitcoin trade today in 5 minutes, do you wait for the close? Yes, I would wait for the close. Okay, so I would wait for the close because a wick for me is no good. So if this had done like a wick up, if this candle was a wick and then closed back down below, yeah, that for me is not enough. I wouldn't enter if it was a wick. So I would wait for the close. Yeah, because a wick for me is no good. But sometimes I'll do with this off of the 3 minute. I'm a 3 minute, 5 minute day trader, you know. I see them when I use my autofib. Nice. What do you need to see in price action to take a trade on the first 618 touch over waiting to see? Okay, so the difference is if you take the trade off of this 618 touch, you are literally just catching the falling knife. So you'll have had the bid waiting there versus, you know, it would have been a trade for me. If you had taken this trade, it would have been a trade of set the entry, set the stop loss, take the take profit, and walk away and just forget about it for the day. And obviously, people with full-time jobs, that's what they would do. But for me, as you know, like someone that is sad enough to spend their whole life in front of the computer, you know, I prefer to, instead of just entering the entry, stop and take profit, I actually prefer to wait for the reaction. And in that case, if this had just dumped straight down through, and there's the possibility for that, if this had just dumped straight down through, well, I never take the trade. But if it holds it, gets the trend change, I take it a little bit higher, take a lot of risk off the table. It's kind of just personal preference. Do you want to be the guy that sits in front of the computer? Arguably, I'm getting away. I'm edging away from day trading because of time constraints actually. So I'm doing less day trading, and I'm getting more into swing trades because I just have no time at the moment. But nevertheless, like it's just like that, what I would say would be a swing trader's trade, whereas this is, it's clearly you can only enter this trade if you're actually in front of your computer with time to go on the 5 minute chart. You know, not everybody has that time free to do that, and this was a trade that you either had to have bids waiting or you'd have missed the trade because you'd have had to be at your computer. I think this will come with practice in front of charts. There is a lot of information to take, and I think we'll find more questions. I do agree with that. I totally agree with that, Will you, mate? I do agree that people need time to practice before they can understand, get questions. Yeah, I totally get that. What do you have in mind for the new live stream? You mentioned you want to do more live trading. Will this be for the champions? Yes. Yeah, well, my idea, so I obviously posted in the group today. Oh yeah, good luck finding the message, to be honest. We get so many messages. But I posted in the group earlier today, obviously saying that, try and find it, that I was debating doing like a daily sort of live stream. Yeah, we get so many messages, I can't remember when I posted it. Yeah, there we go. So obviously the account I do for in the champions one, I hit 1 Bitcoin profit in a week, which was 2 weeks, which was pretty decent. And I was debating doing a daily live stream series just because I think that would be like extremely beneficial. That would definitely only be for the top level, but yeah, that's what I want to do in the new year, because in the new year I will have more time again. And I also want to do is like employ somebody else to work alongside me to do the technical analysis. So we'll then have like 2 people doing it. So it'll be me and somebody else. And what I want to do is employ a champion. So basically one of the champions in the group that's doing really well, I'll do some sort of test, some trial period, I guess. And whoever does really good will be working alongside me, mainly to help answer questions. And, for example, when I'm away on holiday or whatever, they can like take over the stream, and they will have learned everything from me, so they should be able to answer all the questions that I receive. So yeah, that's something that I'm looking into, employing a champion from the group. 100% it will be someone internal. Want to get someone in to help me. And yeah, in the new year, I'm looking to start some sort of daily trading series. You also mentioned that your lower cap coin generally returns 786, although you were looking at the 618 on alts you've just gone over. Yeah, more so the 786. I know what you're referring to there, Chris. I like to look at the 786 after the coin has pumped insanely. Okay, so after the coin is pumped real big. Okay, so if there's a coin that's pumped really big, then you'd look down towards lower levels, because the altcoins generally pump really hard, then they dump really hard. But for instance, these altcoins that I've covered, like, well, I guess this one I'm still in. So, but never on, for example, like BAT. Well, I guess that everything that I've gone over there is actually thinking about as being more short term. Has been more short term, obviously on the grand scheme of things. But yeah, like you can, well, for example, here this has hit the 618. You just have to think, like, if you are looking at like, these aren't really extreme moves. Like, the best one I can refer to offhand is Enigma coin. Okay, so Enigma coin has really big pumps, and then those sort of really big pumps, you look down on these sort of pump and dump altcoins, look down towards the 786. But by just looking at the 786, it doesn't help. You need to look for the confluence. You know, if you do get a massive pump, but there's more confluence for a support at the 0.5 fib, well, you'll find support at a 0.5 fib. It's not just so much thinking, right, 786 or 618 or 0.5. It's where is the big support lining up. I hope that makes sense, Chris. But yeah, generally speaking, on pump and dump alts, you look for the 786. But also the market expands and it's continuously changing. What works 5 months ago won't work now, so you need to adapt with how the market changes. And right now 618 is like flavor of the month. No, we're not doing any Black Friday stuff. Do you look for confluence with fibs and higher highs, higher lows? Yes, absolutely. I would like to see, like, for example, the higher highs and higher lows, if they're bouncing off fibs, that is just a plus. So yeah, you can definitely get confluence with the fibs and higher highs, higher lows. How did you start with trading? I think this is a question for another video. I kind of want to wrap it up. Yeah, I could speak on that one for about half an hour. Dan, it would be great to have a swing trade channel for those of us with day jobs. I do agree. That's something that I need to think about. And yeah, Dale, that is totally, I do understand that there are so many messages. Yeah, Ed is doing really well. I'm not going to lie, Ed is doing really well. But I'd have to see, for example, not everybody's going to want to become a full-time trader. I know Ed runs his own business, for example, so who knows. But yeah, I will definitely look at somebody if they're interested, Cool. I am going to wrap it up there. About an hour and a half going on, and I kind of want to actually trade this because I'm seeing now that it is getting rejections. Yeah, I'm going to go back onto trading for a little bit and just relax. But yeah, thank you everybody for tonight. Thank you for joining me. Obviously, going back to next week, we will be going on to the Fibonacci extension, which is a really nice tool. So I do love that one. So yeah, next week I will move on to explaining that, which is obviously going to be the 4th of December. So 4th of December. So yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover right now in terms of this lesson today. I hope that you've all enjoyed it and it's been beneficial. It's a shame, I know, that we didn't get through everything here, because I could have gone through a hell of a lot more examples, but I don't, I don't really want to stay on the stream for 10 hours. So yeah, thanks everybody. Hope that you've thoroughly enjoyed. If you do have questions, just come over and post them in the champions chat, and I'll get to them eventually. Obviously, I've got a lot of DMs as well to go through. Like, some of these messages, it just takes time. Yeah, sometimes it's overwhelming, all the amount of messages, hence why I want to get another person helping me. But post any questions that you do have in the group and I will get to them 100%. Occasionally, I do know that I miss some messages, and if I do miss a message, it's nothing personal. You just got to send it again to me, because yeah, sometimes I'll see a message, and then, you know, something happens on the chart and I forget about the message, and then I'll think of it maybe like the next day, thinking, oh yeah, I remember actually that message, and then I went off to do X, Y, and Z, and I forgot about it, you know. So it doesn't happen very often. I'm not gonna, you know, it doesn't happen often, but if it does, then just send me another message, you know. Never anything personal. But yeah, just come across champions, and yeah, post it, and me or someone else, I'm sure will help. So yeah, thank you once again, everybody. Absolute pleasure to help you all. Hope that you have enjoyed, and yeah, let's continue with, I would say, arguably a very nice winning streak on Bitcoin right now. See how this weekly, that's the level holding you down right now. Weekly 6929. Let's see how that goes. The monthly was 7,729, I want to say offhand. So you know, these are the next two important levels. If we can't clear the weekly here, let's look and see how the reaction goes. 7,400 in my opinion. So yeah, thanks once again, everybody. I will catch you in the next stream, and good night. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.